Hello and welcome back to White Lines Football. Lewis again here today with another video. Today we're very lucky to be joined by former Manchester United, Gillingham and Hibs, amongst others, professional footballer Danny Galbraith. Danny is a left-sided midfielder who's had quite the career with many ups and downs, but it's been a career where he's really struggled with injuries. He's recently graduated with a football journalism degree, achieving a first, and he'll be telling us all about that and more today. So I am now joined by Danny Galbraith. Thanks for coming on, Danny. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. So obviously football is the game. Why football? What got you into football?
What got me into football? I think it's just like most boys at a young age, it's sort of something you seem to get into or you don't. Like most young guys my age, just played it from as long as I can remember, and it starts off as something that you love doing, and then as you get a little bit older and possibly a little bit better at it, then that's probably when you start to think about it as a possible sort of career path, if you like. And I think things just kind of spiral from there. Yeah,
and I think I'm right in saying you started at Hearts, but on your 16th birthday you signed for Manchester United. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So actually, where I'm from Hearts are in Edinburgh, which is obviously the capital city. I'm from a small sort of town about an hour away, and where I grew up, it was all rugby. So I had to travel, into the city to play football. I played for a boys' club there, and then ended up moving to Hearts. And like you say, when I was 16, obviously moved down south for the first time.
Was that alone, or was that with other people?
Yeah, no, it was just myself. I finished my GCSEs. I was 15, just before I turned 16. I moved down in the summer before my 16th birthday. I stayed with a family in Diggs down there. So it probably never seemed a big deal at the time, because you're getting the chance to sort of go and follow your dream and play for probably the biggest club in the world. So you don't think twice about that. Looking back, it was obviously quite a young age to be leaving home myself and leaving my family behind. But I don't think any kid would make any sort of different decision.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And because you're obviously young, and it's a big thing for you to move home, did you sort of realise, like, at the time how big it was? And I think I'm right in saying as well you moved for a fee of about 50,000. Did it feel weird having that on your back too?
Yeah, it felt weird in that, there was a lot of sort of stuff in the press up here, and I suppose it was in the days before social media, so it was nowhere near as bad as what it would have been now if somebody probably in the same situation as me. But I suppose you do notice it. Obviously, there was stuff in the papers and the rest of it, and obviously there was money involved. But I think it's not really the money that it wasn't a burden or anything like that. It's just something that you probably at the time you just kind of take in your stride, and you probably don't think too much about it, especially at that young an age. I suppose it was just something that naturally happens in football. So I think it was more just sort of excited at what was to follow, as opposed to sort of worrying about it.
Yeah, you seem like you had quite a calm head on your shoulders. So you settled in. The guy at the top of the tree really was Sir Alex Ferguson at the time. Did he talk to you much? Did you have a good relationship with him?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Sort of, football's not like that anymore. How often do you see now where you have one man who effectively runs the whole club? He was literally the kingpin, if you like, in charge of everything, and he knew every player's name from the academy all the way up to obviously the first team. And with me being Scottish, it was good to me before I actually signed. I went down to a few games, and he met my family, and just sort of told them why what the club wanted to sign me, and to sort of reassure them. And I remember at sort of 14, 15, going into the first team dressing room after a game, and you're seeing all these sort of famous world class players. It's very surreal when I look back. You don't think about it at the time, but he was he was very big into the youth team as well, with the club having such a sort of rich history with the Busby Babes and the class of '92. He used to speak to all the youth teams, especially before the Youth Cup, to stress the importance of it to the club. And he was just heavily involved in every single aspect of the club, which is probably something that is a thing of the past now.
Yes, I mean at that age as well, I think it's definitely something you'd want, that someone of that status like getting behind you, reassuring you. And you mentioned the youth team. You had a few good experiences with that youth team in the reserves. I think at the time you played in front of a record crowd at the Emirates. What was your favourite experience involved?
Well, that would be up there. Probably, I think it is still a record crowd today, 38,000. It was the year the Emirates Stadium actually opened, and I vividly remember, we playing Arsenal in London, and staying down there the night before, and the next day we went for a walk around central London just to sort of loosen up as you do, and there was a few sort of numbers bandied about. I remember the coach saying there'd been 20,000 tickets sold, and then 25, and then 30, and then when we turned up at the game there was 38,000, and you think to yourself, wow. I mean, that, I suppose before that it's probably lucky to have played in front of a few hundred if you're lucky. So it was a sort of surreal experience, especially that stadium as well, because it was brand new, and to this day I've still never played on a surface like it. It was just immaculate, and I think that's when the first time you sort of probably think to yourself, this is really what I want to do when you have an experience like that. And unfortunately, as in our good experiences, we beat Arsenal in the semi-final, and played the second leg at Old Trafford, and then played Liverpool in the final over 2 legs at Anfield and Old Trafford. So going to play at Anfield and stadiums like that at 16 years old, I suppose you think it's going to be like that forever. And it's not until things maybe don't go like that you look back and realise how lucky you were, really.
So how close do you think you were to the first team at Manchester United? Were you given any sort of clue or anything like that?
How close to a piece of string, I suppose you could say. I think the one thing I would say is that every player's there for a reason. They wouldn't have signed me, and they wouldn't have paid money for me if they didn't think I had a realistic chance of making the first team. And first season there, I'd done really well, and I was one of the youngest in my team, and by the end of my first season as a first year scholar, I was involved sort of in the reserves, on the bench, and getting involved with the reserves. So things really probably couldn't have went much better for me. In my first year I played on all the Youth Cup games, and as we got to the final, and I think if I was to assess that season, I would say I'm ahead of schedule probably. But unfortunately I kind of just injury struck for the first time, and sort of 2 years flew by without really kicking a ball, and at a club like that, things just pass you by. You can't afford to miss that amount of time, and at any club. So I don't sit here today and say I would definitely have played for the first team if this or that, because you just never know. There's players who I thought probably would play for the first team that never, and other boys who you maybe wouldn't have expected it who did. So I think as many know, football is a lot of it is the right place at the right time, and you kind of need things to fall into place, especially at massive clubs like that.
I think injuries at youth level are sort of heartbreaking because clubs will not wait around, like you say. Do you remember being called up to play for Scotland for the first time?
The first time I was called up to play for Scotland, I think it was under 15s, and we played Belgium. I remember a common theme in my career, unfortunately. We went to train the morning of the match in Belgium, and we were doing a sort of just a sort of set pieces, if you like, and I ended up breaking my toe in the morning of the game.
All right.
I've turned up at night, and I mean, it was sort of the first taste of professional football, where you have training session in the morning, you go to sleep in the afternoon. And I remember waking up in the afternoon and my toe was purple, and I knew something was wrong. But I had family travelling from Scotland to the game. My dad and my granddad were travelling, and they had a nightmare journey. They had missed flights, and my granddad lost his passport, and they'd ended up in the British Embassy all day. I think my dad and my granddad nearly never spoke to each other ever again, and then turned up at the game, and there's me sort of sitting on the floor, getting my foot sort of strapped up, and then I just remember my dad wanted to kill me after the day he'd had. So I ended up played the first half because he said to me, like, I basically begged him to play.
Yeah.
And I played the first half and came off, and I broke my toe, so I was out for a while after that. So that was my first real experience. And then of course the Victory Shield after that was the first time you sort of you get a chance to really play on television. Playing for Scotland and against England, Northern Ireland and Wales. So those were sort of my early days experience in the youth setup in Scotland, if you like.
Okay, yeah. You said you suffered an injury, and that did sort of continue through the youth ranks with Scotland. Did it frustrate you? Because obviously it was affecting your club career as well, not just your international career. Was it sort of a big thing to take on as a youth?
No, of course. I mean, it's difficult at any time, but the sort of at Man United, especially the run I had, I basically missed the best part of 2 years, but with 3 different injuries. So it wasn't even like it was a sort of a long term. It was I'd injured my ankle playing for Scotland while I was at Man United, and then I was waiting till after the Youth Cup run to get an operation that summer. I got the operation. I was out maybe 4 months. I was about a week away from training, and I'd done my knee, so I needed another operation. I was out probably for another 4 or 5 months, and that was that season done. And the following season, I got back for near enough Christmas time, and I went to a youth tournament in, I think it was Switzerland, and I was starting to play a bit better. I was aware that I'd missed a lot of time. I was desperate to get back, and sort of had a discomfort in my groin, and it was sort of to do with my pelvis, and I sort of kept playing when I shouldn't have. But you feel like, if I can't have something else wrong with me, that's how I felt. I said, I've missed all this time. You start to think it's in your head or whatever, because you feel like how can this be happening? But cut a long story short, then that kept me out for I think 10 months, and then that was another season gone. So it just sort of passes you by, and a whirlwind. And for any player, that never gets any easier when you're injured. I think people don't realise how much it affects your life, especially if you're this kind of person that sort of tries to be as professional as they can, and live life the right way, and eat the right things, and do the things that professional footballers should do. So when you're going through times like that, it's obviously difficult to deal with.
Eventually you were let go by Manchester United. When were you told that you weren't going to be offered a new deal?
I think it was around must have been I was still injured at the time, and I was coming back towards the end of my final season. It must have been around March time. I think it was maybe a couple of months left in the season. I'm sure it was around March. And sort of like the apprentice, everybody gathers in a room, and you get called through sort of one by one to speak to obviously Sir Alex, and it was I was reserve coaches at the time, which was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and another coach, Warren Joyce. And I mean, I hadn't played a game all season, so I'd never completed the training. I'd never had a training session under either of those guys.
Yeah.
So you started walking in, and it was obviously a kind of surreal moment when you walk in, and you sort of, your whole world gets shattered initially. I suppose it's at that point, although I'd had injury problems, which is obviously difficult, but in terms of my career, everything, I'd never had to deal with, it sort of footballing disappointments, if you like. That was sort of the first major blow I'd experienced, which up until that point was something I'd never experienced before.
Yeah. And when you did leave Man United, you went back up to Scotland, signed for Hibs. What about the rivalry of Hearts? Because obviously you spent some time at Hearts.
Yeah, well, at the time, I actually, like I say, after that moment, when I knew my contract wasn't getting renewed, I was just about back playing at that point. So, about maybe 6 weeks left in the season, I went back home to train with Hibs and Hearts, and I was sort of going between the two, and I just decided that Hibs had a better sort of reputation of giving young players a chance, and more importantly, there was a lot of foreign. I think there was a lot of foreign sort of ownership problems at Hearts at the time, and the time I was in, it was quite difficult environment. A lot of the sort of guys that I used to play with at Hearts had said to me, "You don't want to come here," funnily enough. So I felt it was the right decision from a career point of view. The rivalry didn't come into it, and more importantly, one of my coaches from Scotland youth level was the assistant manager at Hibs, and he was always somebody I thought got the best out of me. So my real reason was signing was to play for him. So I did sign, and he got sacked in the summer, and I ended up never working for him. So that was not a great experience, but I still thought it'd probably be the best club for my career at that point in time.
No, that's fair enough. I think I'm right in saying as well you got an assist on your debut. Did you feel more at home? Did you feel you had a chance at a fresh start after these injuries?
Yeah, no, it was a fresh start, and I wanted to move. At that point I had no other thought in my mind other than I wanted to go home. I'd never been homesick as such, but towards the end of my time, on the back of 2 years not playing and just really difficult, I thought it'd be the best thing for me to move back home closer to my family and try and, like you say, have a fresh start. That was my sort of only plan, moving back there, and that's why I made the call that I did. And
first senior goal against Celtic, 2-1 win. Must have been incredible.
It was, because I think it was only maybe 6 months after I signed, and I say it was a strange situation for me because I turned up on day one at pre-season with a manager that hadn't signed me, that I'd never met before.
Yeah.
So you almost turn up as a new guy at a club, that with a manager who has never, I don't know if he's seen me play before, but I certainly never had any contact with. So it was strange, and I was probably frustrating at that time because I was in and around the first team. I was coming on. I was kind of doing well, but not playing as much as what I'd hoped. And then all of a sudden, scored a winner at Celtic Park, which doesn't happen very often. I still don't think Hibs have won there since that night. So it was obviously a special moment, probably a key point in my career where that really should have been the time for me to kick on. But it probably put me backwards because I scored the winner that night, and then I was dropped basically. I didn't play for the first team for about another 2 or 3 months after that. So again, I suppose it's just one of those things where I think if the manager who had signed me I'd done that under, then obviously wouldn't have been the situation. But I think the manager that I worked under at the time probably his sort of reasoning, not that he ever told me, was that he didn't want to sort of make it get carried away or to kind of try and keep my feet on the ground sort of thing, which as a type of person I am, wasn't really the sort of thing I needed. I've never needed somebody not to tell me to stay level-headed or stay grounded. I'm more the opposite. I need somebody to probably put their arm around me and put a bit of faith in me, which never happened at that time.
Was that John Hughes, right?
That was John Hughes,
yeah. Colin Calderwood came in and you featured a bit more, and then they changed manager again. That's right, Pat Finlay.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I must have had four managers in my time. So Colin Calderwood came in for maybe a year, and then as you say, Pat Fillon after that.
There was a bit of a debate at the time. I've only learned myself off the internet. The club said you weren't involved due to a hip operation. There were reports you'd fallen out with the manager. You said you were fine. What actually happened?
I'm not sure I can give you the full story, but for legal reasons. But I was nothing to do with being injured, and unfortunately, try and cut a long story short. What basically happened was, that I was injured at the time, but me and another player who was injured, we got to the Scottish Cup final. The end of that season, and the night before the game, we found out, me and another player who was injured, that basically we weren't going to be included in any of the bonus money if we were to win the cup. And the reason we got for that was that we were injured. So it was a bit of a strange one at the time, because especially for the other player, because he had played in every single round up until the final. He actually got injured in the semi-final.
Wow, yeah.
And this was nothing to do with the boys that were playing or the boys that were on the bench. It was almost like, well, the rest of the squad, if we were to win the game, we'd have a separate pot spread between them or whatever. So what they decided to do was put everybody else in one pot, and put me and the other player in a pot beside the bus driver, the kit man, the physio, and I think it was Masur and somebody else. And I was just young at the time, so I was never going to say anything. But the other player wasn't very happy. He said he was going to speak to the manager, and I asked him, probably naively, do you want me to come with you? I didn't really want to be seen to sort of letting him go and fight my battle when there was just two of us.
Yeah.
So we both went, explained that, listen, how can this possibly be fair when that there was players who were getting 4 times what we were getting, who had never played in the first team before.
Right.
So and there was also players who had never played in the cup. So it's not, it's almost like you would have had grounds to say, well, listen, surely it gets divided on who's played so many minutes or whatever. But that was never the case. It was just a case that none of us are playing, so we either all get the same or we all get nothing. So it was a very short conversation, because the other players know he's no backwards and coming forwards, so the manager kind of caved in within 30 seconds, and that was that. We basically got a bad result the next day, got beat quite heavily in what was obviously a massive game against the rivals, and then the day after that, me and another lad were in over the summer for treatment, and he called the other lad in, and he told him that he had offered him a contract and told him he wasn't offering him anymore.
Right.
And this is on the back of him. It was the goalkeeper who had played every single game near enough that season. He told him, listen, you go away with your family, have an early holiday, come back ready for pre-season, we'll sort your contract out, etc. So he's done that. He's told him, I can't remember what he told him at the time, but he made up that there was no budget or the usual stuff. And then I got called in, and he basically said to me that, listen, there's too many young players at the club. If you can find a new club, you're free to go, blah, blah, blah. And I was injured at the time, so obviously it wasn't ideal for me. And that was that, basically. That was sort of just thrown under the bus over that.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult situation, because it had nothing to do with football, which often seems to be the case. But obviously the club at the time issued sort of said it was to do with my injury, which it wasn't. But I suppose that's just the way it goes. There's a lot of politics behind the scenes that not just obviously with myself, but with hundreds of players at hundreds of clubs up and down the country that people wouldn't necessarily be aware of.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's interesting, because I was going to ask what happened when you got let go, but I suppose that's the story. You had a short time at Limerick, if I'm pronouncing that right, and then you wanted to find a club in England, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah.
What drew you back to England?
Well, I'd always wanted to go back. I think no matter, there's a lot good about the Scottish game just now, and there's a lot to be positive about. But I think the reality is that most young players, if they get a chance to move down to England, they will. Because that's probably where most players dream of playing. I felt for my career I wanted to try and get back playing down there, and try and work myself back up again. That was my thinking behind it. I was desperate for a chance to go back and try again, if you like, after being at Man United earlier in my career. So I kind of put all of my eggs in one basket to try and make that happen.
Yeah. So you ultimately came to Gillingham, the club I support, under Peter Taylor at the time. A big name in football. What drew you to Gillingham?
He was obviously one of the reasons, because watching from afar, obviously I didn't know him. I'd never had anything in contact with him, but most people in football would be aware that the sort of status he had, like you say, a big name. He managed England. I think he gave David Beckham the captaincy for the first time. So he obviously had a good reputation, and had the chance to go on trial there, and I thought it was great, and I was absolutely over the moon to finally get the chance to go back and play down south. But I think probably within 2 or 3 weeks of me signing, he left, or he was sacked. So again, another one that, with the right intentions, probably never quite went to plan.
Yeah, and the man that came in was Justin Edinburgh. Now, there's a lot of stories about Justin, but what was your relationship like with him? Because you started his first 3 games, or you played in his first 3 games, didn't you?
Yeah, I played the first 4 games.
First 4.
I suppose it was the first 3, because I think the first game I played was when he was in the stand. He wasn't actually. I think he'd been appointed that morning. I think I came on at half time, in fact, in that game. He was appointed before the game, so he'd never been at training or anything like that. So it was still the caretakers in charge. And we had sort of 3 massive games. I think we had Sheffield United, Peterborough midweek, and then MK Dons on the Saturday. 3 teams who were probably both all going for promotion.
Yeah.
Like I say, I played in those 3, and then I think we played Yeovil the week after, away from home, which we drew, and never really played again after that.
Did you get on with Justin? Did you get on with him well?
I wouldn't say I probably had any relationship with him whatsoever. It's sad to say, because he never. It was just really, really difficult, because I felt personally like I don't think I would have played unless if we hadn't won all the 3 games.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have played a game under him, because he sort of was on. I obviously spoke to him after he took me out of the team, because after the Yeovil game, I remember where I was playing sort of left at diamond in midfield. We changed to a 5 at the back, and he moved me to right wing back. I'm a left-footed left midfielder. Yeah. And he moved me to right wing back, and then took me off at half time. It was a bit of a humiliation, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I felt like that, and I said that to him. I said, I feel like you just couldn't wait to take me out of the team as soon as we never got a result. We won 3 games and drew 1, and then I never played again after that. So.
Yeah.
It was just, and when I spoke to him, he said to me that I wasn't his player. Funny thing, I said to him, he came in and he gave it the normal chat. Everybody gets a clean slate. Whatever happens before, forget about it. It's all about now, sort of thing. And I felt as if, I wasn't a standout in any of the games by no means, but I felt as if I'd done okay. And listen, we hadn't won a lot of games, so. To win 3 games on the bounce against 3 of the better teams in the league, I think nobody probably deserved to lose their place.
Yeah.
But he gave it the usual chat, and when I went to speak to him, I said, I feel like you're desperate to take me out of the team. I don't know why that is. And I said, you took me off, and I think you took me off 2 games in a row, and especially the MK Dons game, I thought I was playing quite well. And his excuse was that just the players were playing in my similar position had more credit than me, and I said to him, well, how can that be? Because we've all played the same. You've only been here a few weeks, so how can that be? I thought what had gone on before didn't matter, but he said that obviously one was Jake, who was obviously assistant manager's son, and Lofty was the captain, so you can understand that. But all you ask as a player is that you get a fair crack, and especially the Yeovil game. I know Jake had played right back under Peter Taylor before, so if you're taking somebody at midfield to put them at right back, you'd have thought you'd put somebody there who actually has played there and who can play there. Which was my biggest frustration, because I felt like it was a bit of a setup. Just put him out there and then I'll take him off at half time. Which I felt was poor, but listen, that's what it is. I mean, it's hard for me to comment on a relationship with Justin because I didn't have one. I think he obviously came in and he had his own ideas from early doors, and clearly, I wasn't going to be a part of that, which is can happen. It's not not the only one that's ever happened to. That's football. Managers will come in and they'll to a certain extent, know what they want and who they want before a ball's kicked.
I think I don't know if you know the manner he left in, but I think he left a bitter taste in a lot of Gillingham fans' mouth, and since he has left, we've had a few run-ins with him. But obviously you've got your personal views, but I was speaking as a fan. I remember when you came on, and I remember thinking you were a winger. You came in, and I remember you went to the left of the diamond, and I remember actually being really impressed with you. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you now, but I do remember at the time being impressed. So what was your time like overall at Gillingham? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. But listen, it's hard to enjoy something, when you don't feel like you got a fair crack at the whip, if you like. I mean, it was a massive opportunity for me, and it was one. Again, if I'd played really poorly, I'd have no complaints. But I thought, as if considering it took a while for me to get a chance, I was determined to take the chance, and I felt like I did. But there's nothing worse as a player when you feel like I knew. I thought, listen, as soon as we have one bad result, I'm the one coming out of the team. And that's the difficult part. And I remember then, even after that, it was sort of, I remember speaking to our coaches saying, they all said the same thing, there's nothing more you can do, just keep doing what you're doing, your chance will come again. I remember especially one week I played for reserves one night, and I played quite well. I scored a great goal, and I thought, and I remember turning up, I played, I think it was Bristol City on the Saturday, and one of the midfielders ended up with tonsillitis on the way to the game.
Wow.
And I think it was Jake Hessenthaler was ill, so I thought, right, that's a bit of luck I needed. I'm definitely going to play today because it's kind of worked in my favour. I've played well during the week, and if somebody's pulled out, and he put a young lad in who had came on loan the day before, and I was just, that's when I saw a guy had come in, and young lad had one sort of training session, and when he gets put straight in the team before you're in. I think that's sort of the sign that no matter what you do, it's probably not going to be it's not going to work for you. And I wish it did. I would have loved to have played more, even played more. I'd love to have just got the opportunity I felt I deserved. So it was strange because it's easy to say, but I think if Peter Taylor had stayed, things for me would have been different. Whether they would have been better or worse in general, who knows? But I think if anybody will tell you, if a manager signs you, then I think they've probably got sort of more pressure to play you, if you like. That's only natural, and that again, kind of like what happened at Hibs. I never had that. I signed for clubs on the basis that I really liked the men I was working for, and in one case it never lasted 5 minutes, and the other it wasn't much more than that.
Obviously you moved to York. How was your time there? Obviously you suffered a relegation, but how was it?
Yeah, it was, I I enjoyed it because I got to, again, I'd probably had about 6 months out of contract, so it's a difficult time when you're not earning any money and you're training yourself every day. But, to again try and stay positive. Going to York was another fresh start. You obviously desperate to do well. Again, I played a lot more, which was great for me. But obviously getting relegated was a massive blow because the club were obviously in a little bit of difficulty when I arrived.
Yeah.
They were struggling. They'd obviously changed the manager. I mean, a lot of turnaround in players. I think the day I signed, I think there was 5 other players signed on loan the same day as me, and I think we all started the next day. So you're playing in a team of strangers, really.
Yeah.
And it never really got going. I think probably for the club that was the turning point, because I think if we had managed to just stay up that season, we'd have given the chance the club to try and stabilise again. Because I think we had 6 or 7 players. We had so many loan players that there was 1 or 2 every week that couldn't even make the bench because you're not allowed so many players in the matchday squad. I think I remember I turned up and the first number that was available was 37, which is the number I got. So that gives you an idea of sort of the turnaround in the squad, and it's obviously not ideal for any team when you've got players that have got no continuity, and you're kind of fighting an uphill battle, and it was just really, really disappointing because it was a club that I felt if we had managed to sort of just get over the finishing line, things were set up to try and have a more positive season the next year, but clearly that wasn't to be.
Yeah, hadn't they just got into the playoffs the year or a couple of years before that?
I think they had. Yeah, I think they had. I know they'd done really well under Nigel Worthington when he was the manager.
Yeah.
Obviously, ex-Norwich manager in Northern Ireland, and I don't know too much about sort of what went on before I arrived, but you knew the club were in a bit of turmoil. Listen, that's generally what happens, especially for guys like me who were out of contract. You're probably never going to walk into a club that are sitting top of a league somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the game's probably similar to when I signed for Gillingham. I mean, the club were probably, I have no idea where, but maybe bottom half of the table, sort of fighting to stay in the league. And it was the same at York at the time, and it's difficult as a player to go into that environment because it's very difficult to go into a team that are losing most weeks, to be blunt about it.
Yeah.
I think any player, especially a player, attacking player in that sort of position, you spend most of the games defending because of the situation you're in. But in the sort of situation I was in, you've got to go for it and try and make most of sort of any opportunity that comes your way.
Yeah, and you mentioned to me personally earlier that you sort of got an injury now, left York with injury. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and the current situation you're going through?
Yeah, well, this summer, it must have been a couple of summers ago now, I was, the season after we got relegated that summer, I came back and I sort of suffered a heel injury in pre-season, and I tried to keep going with that and sort of ended up having a few weeks out and ended up getting a scan, and I had a problem called plantar fasciitis, which is sort of a chronic heel problem if not treated properly. Cut a long story short, I ended up taking a steroid injection to try and play because the manager was under a lot of pressure at the time, and it looked like the end was near with the way that the fans were towards him. So he had signed me, and I felt a loyalty towards him that I try and play. So I took the injections and played I ended up playing I did maybe 7-8 weeks out, and then I ended up a couple of training sessions, and the way the fixtures ran, I played about 5 games in 16 days, and it just needless to say put me back a lot. I was then out for a long time because the injury wasn't treated properly, and it turned out further down the line that the first sort of scan I had showed that I had a tear in my heel, and I wasn't told that. So I had the injection, which obviously masked the pain. But I was playing with a tear in my heel, and
right, yeah.
Needless to say, it never got any better. So it's put me back along, and then missed effectively the whole season after that. There was a lot of sort of as what happens, especially kind of when maybe the club's not performing so well. Kind of other things behind the scenes that weren't really functioning right, and to sort of, without going into too much detail, I was left out of contract, which would have been last summer, with an injury. I had absolutely no idea, when I would be fit from.
Yeah.
I then had to go and sort of deal with it myself. So I left out of contract, having not played for probably 6 months, 5 months, something along those lines, and since then I've had to try and go through different channels, and I'm waiting on an operation as I speak to you now, which is due for later this year, which is I've had to, because I was out of contract, I've had to sort of go through the NHS, which just took a lot longer than I would have hoped, but you totally understand, because there'll be people in need of help a lot more than what I am. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Come the end of the year, I can maybe try and get myself back, but it's been a really difficult time, because as you've probably gathered, being out of contract as a footballer, especially when you can't play, is probably not an ideal situation.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I wish you all the best for that. Is the aim to get back into football then? Is that the main aim?
That's a name. I wouldn't say it's the main aim anymore. I think there's been a lot happened for me, a lot going on, in the last sort of 12 months. You sort of have to reflect as well. I mean, there was, leaving York, my wife and I had our first child as well. So there was a lot going on, and your life changes. And I've put myself through it for a number of years, trying to fight back from long-term injuries, and it's hard enough when you do have an income, and you do have a job, but
yeah.
when you're out of contract and you can't earn any money doing what it is you do, I think you have to make other plans. So I've been busy trying to do other things. I was doing a journalism degree, which I started while I was at York a few years ago, but also since I was last in contract, I'm training to be a financial advisor. So I'm working every day with that as well. So my life has moved on. I would love to get back playing, and that is my aim. But if that wasn't to be the case, then I'm lucky that I'm on a different path now.
Yeah, getting yourself covered. I like that. So you mentioned the journalism degree. Why did you decide to do that? Was it the injury, and why? How did that happen? Did you go to university, or was it one of those other sort of things?
No, I went to university. I mean, I wasn't injured at the time, so this was something really that I'd always wanted to do something else, because as a footballer you have so much free time that it goes to waste. I would hate to think the amount of hours that I've wasted on a PlayStation since I started playing football. So
yeah.
As well, I think I always have my mum in my ear nagging me that I'm not using my brain, and not because I done well at school, and when I went to Man United, I'd done a business degree as part of my further education down there in college. And it was always my intention to do something else, and it was through the English PFA. They run a university degree and stuff from Staffordshire University, which is in professional sports writing and broadcasting, and they help you with the university fees. So
okay.
I would be lying if I said that wasn't one of the sort of main pulling points. And to be honest with you, it probably wasn't something that I had that much interest in, but I thought that it'd be a great chance, especially with the help with the funding, to get a degree. And listen, a university degree is a university degree, so I just decided to go for it. So that's how I got into it, and it was a lot of distance learning. I had to go to the campus, sort of every month, every couple of months. But because it was set up through the PFA, it's tailored around a footballer's schedule, if you like. So, typically having a Wednesday off, that's the day you would go to university, and also in the summer, while we were off training, you go down there and you stay down there for a couple of weeks and sort of do crash courses over the summer as well, while the university's shut. So no, it was just something that the more I got into it, the more I enjoyed it, and it sort of just went for there. And fortunately, I graduated in the summer.
Yeah, brilliant. So how long were you doing it for?
It was 2 years, so it was a 3-year course, but because it's sort of ran distant and there wasn't as much time off as what a normal university student would have. So it was a fast track condensed course. So you kind of cram all the work into 2 years. So it was hard work. It was a lot of work. But to be honest, I kind of, again, that was one of the things that interested me, was the fact that I could get a legitimate university degree in just 2 years if I put the work in. Yeah,
no, that's fair enough. I read your blog myself. I think it's good because it's like getting the insight of a professional footballer through, and there's not much of that about. So, like when you wrote about being on trial and stuff like that, it's good to get it from that point of view. What was the main aim of it? Was it to just keep practicing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been one that's been big on social media and sort of put myself out there. To be honest, it was actually quite daunting, but it was as part of one of the modules. It was sort of online broadcasting, if you like, and as part of that, everybody had to set up their own blog, and you had to sort of speak to the tutor and sort of think of ideas, what you felt you wanted to do. And like I say, it wasn't something I've ever done before. I've never been one for sort of being that active on social media, but I felt if I was going to do something, I wanted to try and make it worthwhile. And I felt like, as you said, it's probably something that I just felt as if I could give an opinion on what life is like for a lot of footballers having been through it. I mean, because you don't hear about the bad times, really. It's only the driving the Lamborghinis and earning ridiculous amounts of money, whereas that's only really the tip of the iceberg for the majority of professional footballers. They don't live that life. They don't earn salaries that there's people even League 2 in England that are earning salaries that most normal jobs pay, if you like. So it's far removed from what people would think when they hear the words professional footballer. And then you've got the injuries and like you say, being out of contract, going on trial, and all the pressures and the difficulties that come with that. And I felt like, having unfortunately been through it, I'd probably rather not be talking about these experiences, because my career's not went clearly how I would have liked it. But I felt as if I was going to do something, I'll try and make it as interesting and insightful as possible. So that's sort of why I decided to go down that route. But I did find it sort of difficult at first, because I always kind of think, well, who really cares what I've got to say? But it's nice when you get positive feedback and people saying, I never really realised it was like that. And again, it's not a dig at football. It's not a dig at football's this and football's that. I'm just purely giving it from my perspective. Everything I've said is what it's like to me. Listen, if it's not all bad, otherwise I wouldn't have kept doing it. But you do it because you love it, and you do it because you know the good times that football can bring. There's nothing greater than when things are going well, and the times that in my career that things were going well. You wouldn't swap that feeling for the world. But that's just the way it goes. That some players have more downs than ups, and others is the reverse. So I think it's important to get kind of both sides of the story, because again, it's not just me. There'll be hundreds of footballers in my situation and similar situations to myself, and there's a lot of difficulties that come with that, and obviously mental health and everything that's kind of getting more documented now. I've seen it myself. A lot of players, struggle to deal with the disappointments in football. And hopefully it can just maybe shed some light on the side of the game that most people don't get to see.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it comes across that way. And obviously, one day you're going to have to retire full-time from playing. You've got quite a lot behind you, like you said. What tops the list of what you'd want to do after?
Well, I mean, I'm firmly sort of clear in mind that, you know, I've really fortunate that, you know, last summer with everything going on, you know, one of my close friends who was my financial advisor when I grew up, not that I needed one, but more a friend that offered me the opportunity to go and work for him and start from scratch and, you know, do my exams and you know, put me through my studying to get me qualified for a career in, you know, financial services industry. So that, to be honest, that's something that in the back of my mind I'd always wanted to do. Like I said to you earlier, I'd done a business degree when I was in Manchester, and you know, most players opted to go for a kind of sports degree. It's always something that's interested me, and no, the only probably thing different is that I thought we'd probably be doing that at 35 or 40, not 26, 27. But that's life, you know. I felt as if I had to. Well, I did have to make the call because I'm sitting here talking to you now more than a year later, and I'm still not fit to play football. So if I hadn't done it, you know, it would have been scary to think, you know, that the state that not just me but my family would be in, because you know, I've got a young boy, and I wouldn't have been bringing an income in, and so obviously the consequences of that. So I was really lucky that I was given the chance to, you know, to go in a different direction. It's something that I really wanted to do, and you know, I got to the point last year, especially. You know, I was doing a university degree, and I'm doing my degree in financial advice. So you know, I've been doing 2 degrees at once. I've been, you know, being a father in the early stages for the first time. I've, you know, moved back home with my wife in a new house, working 9 to 5, and trying to, you know, have a social life on top of all that. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind 12 months, to be honest. But the good thing is it's kept me busy. It's kept me occupied, and probably more importantly, kept my mind occupied, because you know, I've known in a previous time of life when, you know, you sit and all you've got to think about is football, and when you're injured, it can be a depressing time. So it's probably allowed me to see that, you know, there is another life out there, even if it's one you probably, you know, don't want to enter, which I'm sure is the same for a lot of players.
Yeah. No, I think that sets a good example for footballers, and especially young players as well, where you've definitely got to have something behind you.
I think that's a problem for a lot of young players, is though that, you know, they don't, and they put all their eggs in one basket because they have people telling them that, you know, they're going to make it, they're going to be a millionaire, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Listen, you know, I can say that because, you know, like we spoke about earlier, I've had a taste of that myself, having, you know, moved to probably the biggest club in the world as a young boy, but you know, it was always stressed to me. You know, I mean, I probably could have went earlier, but my parents wouldn't let me go until I'd finished my GCSEs. Because, you know, it's always been sort of drummed into me how important it is to have a plan B, and I was lucky as well that, you know, I did stick in at school, and you know, I got good grades, and you know, some people are not that fortunate, and a lot of them, the players that, you know, maybe are not that academic, you know, they do put all their eggs in one basket, and if football does go wrong, which it can for hundreds of players, because, you know, every boy wants to be a footballer, but only so many can. So, you know, the chances of making it are slim, if you like, at any level. So, as you say, it is vital that you have a plan B, or if not a plan B, at least something, you know, to fall back on, whether it is something like a school grade or whatever. So I think it's important that, you know, again, I was lucky that, you know, that was something that was always sort of drummed into me from an early age, that, you know, my football, especially at school, you know, wouldn't get in the way of my schoolwork.
So I've got some quick fire questions for you. There's 10. Right. Goal or assist?
Assist.
Club or country?
Club.
Favourite boots?
Predator.
Best stadium you've played in?
Old Trafford.
Best goal you scored?
I'll go for Celtic Park. Probably wasn't the best goal, but it was the best feeling anyway.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that felt. Best teammate you've played with?
Leon Miller.
Best player you've played against?
Robbie Keane.
Best roommate?
Oh, best roommate. It's been that long since I've had a roommate. Paul Hanlon, who's my roommate at Hibs.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite writer in football?
Favourite writer? Probably don't have a favourite, but I like... who do I like? I quite like Henry Winter. He's quite good. He's the one that springs to mind.
Yeah, I think he's the main one. And finally, favourite formation to play in?
4-3-3.
No wing backs then?
Nah, no wing back. No, I've only ever had bad experiences of playing at wing back, and it was right wing back. So I'm trying to get that out of my mind.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's them done. Got a few viewers' questions, if that's all right.
What is?
First one is from @CobblersVlogs. Do you watch any football vloggers or fan content?
Do you know what? I don't really. In terms of content online, I'm a big boxing fan, so any sort of free time that I do have, which is not that much, I tend to probably focus more on that.
@RobBaker292, we touched on it a little bit. He says there was a few peculiarities with your time at Gillingham. Edinburgh said you were injured and you said you weren't, and something about your release as well, but you can't quite remember what. Anything spring to mind?
I don't think there was really anything of it. I mean, I don't think we even had the conversation. It was just like I just knew where I stood, because if you're not playing and the manager doesn't really speak to you, then it's very unlikely you're going to get a new contract. So in theory, I probably should have just left the minute he walked through the door. But at least I got a couple of games in to begin with.
Yeah, fair enough. At Nathan IFC01, can you compare any current footballer at the top level that's having the same problems as you injury-wise?
The main ones that spring to mind, the likes of, obviously Wilshire's back now and Company's back now.
Yeah. Sturridge
as well. But I mean, these are guys that have really had terrible times. And the thing is as well, these guys are obviously earning millions of pounds, but I dare say they still go through the same dark moments that players earning a fraction of that go through. Especially like Company, kind of, probably lauded as the best centre half in the world, and just it seemed at one point, it looked like Guardiola was maybe losing his patience. I think that shows the importance of sticking by players. I think everybody would tell you that Company's the model professional, and clearly, it's something that I've never been able to get my head round, but I've never come across a player in my life that wants to be injured. You get players that maybe miss a game, or I've got a tight hamstring for a game, but players that are injured for 3-4 weeks, months, I mean, it's the worst experience in football. So I think it's always a strange one when you see players like him who you can see how much it means for them to play football. Obviously been a really terrible time, but he's obviously came back, and it's great to see him back playing. But again, I suppose these guys are lucky that not only are they earning a lot of money, but they tend to have 3, 4, 5 years on their contract as well. So it's not a situation where you're probably on a 6-month or a year contract, and if you do get injured, then that's it.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head if he was there while you were there, but Aaron Morris at Gillingham.
Aaron Morris was there, and that's another. You know what? I'm glad you said that, because I've never spoke to Aaron Morris since I left the club, but what a lovely guy he was.
Yeah.
And I knew before, having spoken to him in my time there, that he'd had a couple of bad knee injuries. Again, consummate professional. Never lived his life right. Never, wasn't one where you could point the finger and they say there's anything more he can do. Clearly, he's just been really unlucky. And I don't know. I say I've not spoke to him since I left, but I gather the last I did see, he's not playing anymore. I'm not sure if he's retired. I hope he's not. But again, just really unlucky, and a player who, obviously, was a good player as well. Just really unfortunate, and it's sad to see, because I know what he's been through. I know what he's went through. And I know how good a guy he was as well. And it's difficult, even having been through it myself. You wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah. So when you have a serious injury like that for a long time, obviously you're not training. So what do you do? Because I know Aaron Morris, he didn't kick a ball for us for 2 years, and then he was released in summer, and he, like you say, he hasn't got a club. I think he went back to Wales a few times. What do you do?
You're the first in every day and the last out. You go in, you'll probably get a bit of treatment with a physio, whatever that may be, and then you'll have a rehab program that you'll go to the gym and follow for 4 or 5 hours a day. So it's the most soul destroying, monotonous time ever. When like you say, you don't get a day off during the week. So again, probably something you might say, why did a footballer get a day off during the week? That's just the way it is. But if you're injured, you don't get that. So while the lads are finishing training at 1 o'clock and away home, you're until 3-4 o'clock doing your exercises and 6 days a week and trying to get yourself back fit. I didn't realise it was that long you hadn't played for. And it's obviously it's a really difficult time when you're that length of time. I mean, the amount of players you hear that have had sort of one injury in their career and they talk about it as the worst thing that's ever happened, and they've tried doing that 3 or 4 times. And I mean, I know especially for him, I've had a lot of injuries as much as any, but I've had sort of different injuries, which whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but with him he's clearly got a problem with his knee, and the confidence he must have lost when the same thing keeps happening. I never had that, so I can only imagine how difficult that was for him. And hopefully, I'll hear one point that he's managed to get himself back in some capacity.
Yeah, because at the end, he missed a season, and then at the start of last season, he was sort of like back training. Everyone thought he was going to be back, but it wasn't to be. Nathan asked another question. He said, what was the biggest regret of your footballing career so far?
Biggest regret? I mean, to be honest, I probably don't have any regrets, because I know that, in life and football, you can only worry and you can only concentrate on the things you can control. And I'm lucky that I can look myself in the mirror and say, personally, I tried to do everything I could. I didn't drink alcohol. I went to the gym. I ate the right foods. I dedicated my life to football. So in one way, I can look back and know that I couldn't have done any more. Probably I was my own biggest enemy, and that I'd done too much. Whether that be overtraining and just probably putting my body through too much, probably in frustration at not playing different times, and I was kind of just addicted to training and trying to better myself, and probably sometimes that was to my detriment. But I think, like we spoke about, a lot of the things you can't control. It's easy for me to say, I wish the manager hadn't got sacked at Hibs, or I wish when I'd signed for Gillingham, Peter Taylor never got sacked, or I wish in my first year at Man United I never got an injury, and who knows what happened. It's easy to say that, but all these things are out of your control. There's nothing I could have done to influence that. So from that point of view, you just have to accept it and move on.
That's a good way to be. At 3Lions_ asks, who do you think will be promoted from League One in England this season? He's a Peterborough fan, so I know that's why he's asking it.
I think Peterborough, they're flying, to be fair. And I know they've got Steve Evans in charge, and they've got a couple of good young Scottish players who are doing well there. And Jason Cummins, I know from, he played at Hibs as well. He seems to be scoring quite freely for them. And I signed a lad, Jamie Walker from Wigan, who I played against at Hearts as well. So I think Peterborough, they've kind of threatened to get out of the league for a few years now. Going back to even when I was there, they were in the playoffs flying high until we beat them. So I think they've probably got as good a chance as any. And there's obviously some big clubs in the division. There seems to be bigger clubs in the division each year, just with how competitive the championship is as well.
Yeah.
So you'd probably think the usual suspects will be there or thereabouts, but if the man's a Peterborough fan, then I'd probably be quite confident in his shoes.
Yeah. No, I know him personally. He is. Trust me, he's very cool about it. Final question is from Woolly Bully 69. He's a Newport fan. He says, "What are your thoughts on John Parkin, who I believe you played with at York?"
John Parkin, he's one of a kind, isn't he? To be honest, I was injured at the time when he came in, so I didn't actually. I'd be lucky if I trained with him a couple of times, but in terms of just as a person, he's seems I couldn't say a bad word about him. To be honest, he was always more than pleasant with me, and he was a really funny guy as well. And I think more importantly, he kind of carried the team. Although they got relegated, if it wasn't for him, he was sort of the only one that was giving them a fighting hope with his goals. And even at his age in his career, you could tell that maybe not the most physically best to look at. I certainly can see why he's had a great career in the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's all the questions. Thank you very much for talking to me today. I really do appreciate it. It was really good to get an insight. So there we are. That is the interview finished. Again, a big thank you to Danny for coming on. He was genuinely a really nice guy, very open, very honest, and we had a lovely chat when I stopped recording as well. I'll leave links to all of his work down below in the description for you to check out if you want to do that. I hope you did enjoy the video. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below. Check out all of the socials in the description and all of our channel partners. They're in the description as well. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.